Mutability. What is mutability? It is whether the object is modifiable or not. When you first start learning Python, it may seem like everything is modifiable, but it is actually not true. A lot of objects are immutable, and it often trips student off when it comes to point of manipulating the string or sorting a list and so on. So understanding this would be very helpful and crucial in the future. Let's get into it. One of the common example of immutable object is string. String is immutable. But you may ask like right away, hey, but can't you just assign to another value like string 1? Hey, I just updated. What do you mean it's not modifiable? But you need to think from the perspective of object, not the name tag. What does that mean? Let's say what happens when we execute this line of code. You create the object, say I love coding, and you assign it to the name tag string 1. Then when you execute this line of code, you don't modify the existing object, you create another object because it's immutable. You create another one, say I love Python, and you just change what this name tag points to. So now it points to this one. And since this is not pointed by any name tag, it will be collected by garbage collector, meaning it doesn't exist anymore. This is what happens. So, well, yeah, you updated what name tag points to, but that's not the point. You didn't modify the existing object. You created new object. This is what it means by immutable. Why does this matter? Let's say between here we had another line, says string 2, string 1. What change does this make? So let's say we start it again. For the first line of code, we do I love coding. So far so good. And what this line does is you create another name tag called string 2, and it points to where string 1 points to. So this is what happens. Then when it goes to the third line, you create another object. I love Python. Now string 1 points to this. This is the final picture. So at this point, if you print like string 1, it will print I love Python because that's what string 1 points to. But if you do print string 2, it will print I love coding because that's what string 2 points to. So even though you executed this line of code, like assign the same value, but it's only for that moment. Once it's updated, it doesn't follow because string is immutable. That's for string. Let's talk about the list. List is the very common example of mutable object. So let's say list 1 5 4 3 2 1. What this does is you create it pretty much same as the previous one. You create the object called 5 4 3 2 1, and you give it a name tag called list1. But when you update this list, now you can update it because it's mutable. If you let's change the first value to 9. Then you do not create a new object because this is mutable. You just directly modify the existing object. This is a key difference. This is what you mean by mutable. So when, just like the previous slide, let's say there's a list 2, list 1. So when it was at this point, list 2 is created, and it points where list 1 points to. We're at this point. And then let's assume that this one is executed. Now, when you try to print list 1 and list 2, they will print the same object because this is mutable. This is the key difference. Like once you assign the same thing to mutable object, those name tags will keep pointing to the same object because they are mutable. Unless you actively create new object, they will keep pointing at the same thing. Some of the usage case would be, let's talk about the string.replace function. What this function does is it takes 2 arguments. So this is the character you want to change. And this is the character you want to change to. So let's say you have a string 1, say ha 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 ha, and you want to update all H to J, which is the Spanish way of saying ha 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 ha. So let's say you do string 1 dot replace H to J. Then let's say print string 1. What do you think is what's gonna happen? H or J? It's H, meaning it doesn't get replaced. I mean it does, but let's see what happened behind the scene. So when you first wrote this one, you create ha ha ha, and you have a name tag string 1. But when you executed this code, well, you can't modify this existing object, so it created another object in which H is replaced to J, but it doesn't have any name tag, so there's no way you can access it. And when you print this string 1, well, it still points to this original ha 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 with H. So this is gonna be printed. Then how can you access this new created object with J? You need to assign to another name tag. This way, once this J ha 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 object is created, it will be given a new name tag. So through print string 2, you can print this ha 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 with J. This is for the case of immutable. But what about mutable? One of the common function for list is sorting. It literally sorts the element. So let's talk about the list of sorting. So list 1, same as the previous one. Let's say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's say you sort it, then print it. What's gonna happen? Well, when you print this one, when you execute this one, you create the object called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you give it name tag list1. And for this code, because the object is mutable, it doesn't create the new list with sorted order, it just sorts the original list. So now the list is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Therefore, when you just print list1, it will print the new list. So this is for the mutable object. See, it doesn't require new assignment because it modifies the existing element. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.